The Atlanta morning sun filtered through the sheer curtains of our Buckhead home, casting golden patterns across the hardwood floors. I stood in our master bedroom, carefully folding Marcus's dress shirts, the expensive ones I'd picked up from the dry cleaners on Peachtree Road yesterday. Everything in our life looked perfect from the outside. The colonial-style house with its manicured lawn, the matching Mercedes SUVs in the driveway, the annual family photos displayed throughout our home. My name is Vanessa Mitchell, and for 12 years, I believed I was living the American dream. I'm a 41-year-old marketing director at a tech firm in Midtown, and my husband Marcus was supposedly a senior project manager at a construction company. We met at Spelman College during homecoming weekend. I was visiting my cousin. He was there with friends from Morehouse. Our story was the kind that made other couples smile. College sweethearts who built an empire together. "Baby, have you seen my gray tie?" Marcus called from the bathroom, his deep voice echoing against the marble tiles. "Top drawer, left side," I answered automatically, still focused on creating perfect creases in his collar. He emerged moments later, looking like he'd stepped out of GQ magazine. At 43, Marcus still turned heads, 6'2", athletic build maintained through his gym membership at LA Fitness, skin the color of dark mahogany, with a smile that had first captured my heart 2 decades ago. His navy suit fit him perfectly, tailored to accentuate his broad shoulders. "What would I do without you?" He kissed my forehead, his cologne, Creed Aventus, the one I'd given him for his birthday, filling my senses. "Probably walk around looking like a wrinkled mess," I teased, straightening his tie. "Big meeting today?" "Yeah, the Roswell project. Should be home by 7. He grabbed his briefcase, the leather one I'd surprised him with last Christmas. "Oh, I might need to head to the Savannah site this weekend. Just Saturday, probably back Sunday afternoon." I nodded, used to these occasional trips. Construction projects required on-site supervision, or so he'd told me countless times over the years. "Drive safe. Love you. Love you more, V." The door closed behind him, and I heard the rumble of his car. Our car, technically, though he drove it more, pulling out of the driveway. I stood there for a moment, sunlight warming my brown skin, feeling grateful for the life we'd built. We'd struggled early on, both working multiple jobs to afford our first apartment in College Park. Now we were here, in Buckhead, living among Atlanta's elite. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from my best friend, Tasha. "Girl, lunch today? Need to catch up." I smiled. Tasha Williams had been my ride or die since our days at Howard University, where we'd pledged AKA together. She'd moved to Atlanta 5 years ago and worked as a senior accountant at Deloitte. We tried to meet up at least twice a month, usually at the Flying Biscuit or breakfast at Barney's. 12:30 at Barney's. My treat, I texted back. "Perfect. See you there, sis." I spent the morning working from home, reviewing marketing analytics for our Q4 campaign. The tech industry in Atlanta was booming, and our company was riding the wave. I'd worked hard to climb from junior marketing associate to director, often putting in 60-hour weeks, attending endless networking events, proving myself in a field that didn't always value Black women's contributions. At noon, I changed into a casual but polished outfit, dark jeans, a cream blouse, and my favorite leather jacket. I pulled my natural hair into a high puff, applied some lip gloss, and headed out. The drive to Virginia Highland took 20 minutes. Atlanta traffic was its usual nightmare, even midday. Cars jockeyed for position on Piedmont Avenue, while drivers navigated around electric scooters and cyclists. The city had changed so much since Marcus and I first moved here. More diverse, more expensive, more complicated. Tasha was already seated at our usual table when I arrived, her locks pulled back in a professional bun, wearing one of her signature power suits. She stood to hug me, her perfume, something floral and expensive, enveloping us both. "Girl, you look good," she said, holding me at arm's length. "That glow. You and Marcus must be doing something right." I laughed, settling into my chair. Please. We're boring as hell. Same routine, different day. Boring is good. You know how many of my clients are going through messy divorces right now? She shook her head, her expression turning serious. The stories I could tell you, actually no. Confidentiality and all that. We ordered our food. She got the eggs Benedict, I chose the quinoa bowl, and fell into easy conversation. Tasha told me about her latest dating disaster, some guy she'd met on Hinge who turned out to still live with his mother. I shared updates about work, the new campaign we were launching, office politics. How's Marcus doing? She asked, taking a sip of her mimosa. Same old, working hard. Got another trip to Savannah this weekend. Something flickered across Tasha's face. So quick I almost missed it. Savannah again? Seems like he's been going there a lot lately. I shrugged. Big project. You know how construction is. Constant oversight needed. She nodded slowly, then changed the subject to her mother's upcoming retirement party. But I noticed her glancing at me occasionally, like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. After lunch, we hugged goodbye, and I drove home through the tree-lined streets of our neighborhood. The house felt empty when I walked in. It always did when Marcus was at work. I'd thought about having children early in our marriage, but Marcus had convinced me to wait. Let's build our foundation first, he'd said. Give our kids the life we never had. Now, at 41, that window was closing. We'd started talking about fertility treatments, but Marcus kept postponing the consultation appointments. Just a few more months, he'd say. Let me finish this project first. I settled onto the couch with my laptop, intending to finish reviewing the marketing reports. Instead, I found myself scrolling through Facebook, something I rarely did anymore. The platform had become a collection of political arguments and humble brags, but occasionally, I enjoyed seeing photos of friends' children, vacation pictures, life updates. I clicked through my feed mindlessly. A former colleague's promotion announcement, someone's anniversary photos, a friend from college sharing pictures of her new puppy. Then I saw a suggested friend notification. People you may know, Lisa Chen Mitchell. The profile picture was small, but something about it made me pause. The woman was Asian American, petite, with long black hair and a bright smile. She was wearing a red dress, standing in front of what looked like a restaurant. But it wasn't her face that stopped my scrolling. It was the last name. Mitchell. Atlanta was a big city. Mitchell was a common name. There could be hundreds of Lisa Mitchells in the metro area. But something, call it instinct, call it intuition, made me click on the profile. The page loaded, and my breath caught in my throat. The cover photo showed Lisa at a beach, sunset behind her, wearing a white sundress. She looked happy, carefree. But that wasn't what made my hands start trembling. Standing beside her, his arm around her waist, was Marcus. My Marcus. My husband. I stared at the screen, my brain refusing to process what my eyes were seeing. It had to be a mistake. Maybe it was someone who looked like Marcus. Maybe it was an old photo from before we were married, though Lisa looked young, maybe early 30s. I clicked on the photo. It was posted 3 weeks ago. The caption read, "Anniversary weekend in Tybee Island with my love. 5 beautiful years together. Blessed husband appreciation, Barshirk beach life. 5 years. Anniversary. Husband." The words swam before my eyes. My heart hammered against my ribcage so hard I thought it might crack through. I scrolled down her page with shaking fingers. Photo after photo appeared. Marcus at what looked like a wedding. Their wedding. Lisa in a white dress. Both of them cutting a cake. Marcus at a Christmas gathering, wearing an ugly sweater I'd never seen. Lisa laughing beside him. Marcus at a cookout, grilling. Lisa kissing his cheek. Marcus in front of a house. A different house, not ours. Holding keys. Lisa jumping excitedly. Each photo was a dagger, each caption another twist of the knife. Happy birthday to my amazing husband. Date night with my forever person. He surprised me with breakfast in bed. Lucky wife. My phone slipped from my hands onto the couch. I stood up, sat down, stood up again. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else. The room spun slightly. Or maybe I was spinning. I couldn't tell. I picked up the phone again with trembling hands and scrolled further back. The photos went back 5 years, just as she'd said. 5 years of Marcus living a double life. 5 years of him being someone's husband while being mine. A notification popped up. Marcus had commented on one of Lisa's recent photos. Beautiful as always, baby. Posted yesterday. Yesterday. While I was picking up his dry cleaning. While I was planning our weekend. While I was being his devoted wife. I ran to the bathroom and vomited, my body rejecting this new reality. I knelt on the cold tile floor, forehead pressed against the toilet seat, tears streaming down my face. My perfect life, my perfect marriage, it was all a lie. How many Savannah trips had there been over the years? How many late nights at the office? How many work conferences in other cities? I thought of all the times he'd told me he loved me. The anniversary gifts, the romantic dinners, the plans we'd made for our future. All of it, every single moment, had been shared with someone else. My phone rang. Marcus's name appeared on the screen with a photo of us from our vacation to Jamaica 2 years ago, both of us smiling, happy, in love, or so I'd thought. I couldn't answer. Not yet. I let it ring until it went to voicemail. I pulled myself up from the floor, washed my face, and looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were red, puffy. I looked destroyed. I looked like someone whose entire world had just shattered. But underneath the tears, underneath the pain, something else was stirring. Something hot and sharp and focused. Anger. I walked back to the living room and picked up my phone. My fingers moved automatically, taking screenshots of every photo on Lisa's page. Every comment Marcus had made. Every post about their life together. I documented everything, creating a folder on my phone labeled innocuously as recipes. Then I called Tasha. Hey girl, I need you to come over, I interrupted, my voice surprisingly steady despite the tears still streaming down my face. Now, and Tash? Bring wine. A lot of wine. Vanessa, what's wrong? Your voice. My husband has a wife, I said flatly. A whole entire wife. In Savannah. Silence on the other end. Then, I'm leaving the office right now. I'll be there in 15 minutes. I hung up and looked around our beautiful home. The home we'd built together. The home that was supposed to be our foundation. Every piece of furniture, every decoration, every carefully chosen element suddenly felt like evidence of my own stupidity. How had I not known? Were there signs I'd missed? Red flags I'd ignored? I walked to Marcus's home office, the one room in the house he kept locked when he wasn't there. I'd never questioned it before. He said he kept important work documents inside, client information that needed to be secure. I tried the handle. Locked, as always. I went to the kitchen and grabbed a butter knife, then returned to the door. It took several minutes of jiggling and maneuvering, but eventually the lock clicked open. The door swung inward, revealing Marcus's private space. Everything looked normal at first. A desk, a computer, filing cabinets, shelves filled with construction manuals and project binders. Then I noticed the bottom drawer of the filing cabinet had a different lock. A combination lock. I pulled on it, knowing it wouldn't open, but needing to try anyway. It held firm. Whatever secrets Marcus kept there would have to wait. I heard Tasha's car pull into the driveway. I met her at the door, and the moment I saw her face, full of concern and love, I broke down completely. She wrapped her arms around me, and I sobbed into her shoulder, my body shaking with the force of my grief. "Come on, honey," she murmured, guiding me to the couch. "Tell me everything." And I did. I showed her Lisa's Facebook page, walked her through every photo, every caption, every piece of evidence that my 12-year marriage was a fraud. Tasha's expression grew darker with each swipe. "That motherfucker," she said finally, her voice tight with fury. "V, I am so sorry." "Did you know?" I asked suddenly. "Earlier at lunch when I mentioned Savannah, you looked weird. Did you know?" She shook her head firmly. "No. God, no. I would have told you immediately. I just thought it was strange he was traveling so much. My accountant brain was wondering about the expenses, you know? But I never imagined—" She trailed off, looking at the photos again. "This is calculated. This is cold. This isn't some affair, V. This is a whole separate life." We sat there for hours as the sun set, painting the room in shades of orange and red. Tasha poured wine, and I told her everything. Every detail of my life with Marcus, trying to find clues I'd missed. She listened, occasionally offering observations, but mostly just being present in my pain. "What are you going to do?" she asked finally. I took a long sip of wine, feeling it burn down my throat. "I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out everything. Every detail of this betrayal. And then—" I paused, thinking of Lisa's smiling face in those photos, thinking of Marcus's lies, thinking of the years I'd wasted. "Then, I'm going to make sure he regrets ever thinking he could play me like this." Tasha raised her glass. "Whatever you need, I'm here. We're going to get through this, sis. And he's going to pay for every lie, every deception, every moment he made you feel like you were crazy for trusting him." We clinked glasses, and I felt something settle in my chest. The shock was fading, replaced by determination. Marcus thought he was clever, living two lives, playing two women. He'd underestimated me, assuming I'd remain the devoted, trusting wife forever. But he was about to learn that Vanessa Mitchell wasn't just a marketing director who knew how to sell products. I knew how to research, how to investigate, how to build a case. And I was about to build the case of my life. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Marcus's face in those photos with Lisa, his smile genuine and warm, the same smile he'd given me thousands of times. How did someone smile like that while living such an enormous lie? Tasha had stayed until midnight, finally leaving only after I'd promised I wouldn't confront Marcus until we had a plan. "You need information first," she'd said, her legal training kicking in. "Emotion is your enemy right now. Cold, hard facts. That's what will protect you." At 3 a.m., I was still on the couch, laptop open, diving deeper into Lisa Chen Mitchell's digital life. Facebook was just the beginning. I found her Instagram, her LinkedIn, even her Pinterest boards full of home decor ideas and recipes. Lisa Chen Mitchell, 32 years old, worked as a physical therapist at a clinic in Savannah. She'd graduated from Armstrong State University, had a younger sister who lived in California, and loved yoga, beach walks, and Korean dramas. Her life looked ordinary, normal, except for the fact that she was married to my husband. I examined our timelines side by side. 5 years ago, when Marcus supposedly started the Savannah project, that's when his relationship with Lisa began. Their wedding photos were dated November 15, 2020, a Saturday. I checked my own calendar from that time and felt sick. Marcus had told me he was at a construction conference in Orlando that weekend. I'd stayed home, battling a nasty flu, while my husband married another woman. The address visible in some of Lisa's photos led me to public property records. Within an hour, I'd found it. A modest 2-bedroom house in Savannah's South Side, purchased 5 years ago. The deed listed only one name, Lisa Chen Mitchell. My hands clenched into fists. He'd bought her a house. Our money I'd helped earn, money from our joint accounts, had purchased property for his mistress. No, not his mistress, his other wife. I dug deeper into property records, my marketing research skills proving useful in unexpected ways. Then I found something that made my blood run cold. Our house. The beautiful colonial in Buckhead that I thought we owned together. The deed had been modified 8 months ago. A quitclaim deed, transferring ownership. To Lisa Chen Mitchell. My scream pierced the silence of the night. I clapped my hand over my mouth, but it was too late. The sound had escaped, raw and primal. Our house, the one I'd decorated, the one I'd saved for, the one that held 12 years of my life, belonged to his other wife. How was that even possible? I'd never signed anything. I grabbed my phone and texted Tasha, not caring that it was 3 a.m. He transferred our house to her, 8 months ago. How is that legal? To my surprise, she responded immediately. What? That's fraud. Did you sign anything? Never. I didn't even know about it. I'm calling my real estate attorney friend first thing in the morning. This is forgery. V, he's committed actual crimes. I set down my phone and walked through our house, Lisa's house, seeing it differently now. Every room felt contaminated. The bedroom where I'd slept beside Marcus felt like a crime scene. I grabbed a blanket and pillow and moved to the guest room, unable to bear another moment in that bed. But sleep wouldn't come. I returned to my research, this time focusing on our finances. Marcus handled most of our bills, claiming it was easier to have one person managing everything. I'd trusted him, checking our joint account occasionally, but never scrutinizing the details. Now I scrutinized everything. I logged into our bank account and started going through transactions systematically. There were regular transfers to an account I didn't recognize. $3,000 every month for the past 5 years. 60 months. $180,000 transferred to what I now assumed was an account Marcus shared with Lisa. My salary automatically deposited into our joint account. So did Marcus's supposed paychecks. But now I wondered, did he even work in construction anymore? Or was that another lie? I checked our credit cards next. Most charges looked normal. Groceries, gas, utilities. But there were irregular charges that made sense now. Restaurants in Savannah I'd never been to, purchases from stores I didn't recognize, hotel rooms in Atlanta during times Marcus was supposedly at work. He'd brought her here, to Atlanta, to my city. The rage that filled me was incandescent. I wanted to scream, to throw things, to drive to wherever Marcus was sleeping right now and drag him out of bed. But Tasha's words echoed in my mind. Cold, hard facts. At 6 a.m. I heard the garage door open. Marcus was home. I'd been so deep in my research that I'd forgotten he sometimes came home early to shower and change before heading to work. I quickly closed my laptop and tried to compose myself. But my eyes were swollen from crying, my natural hair wild from running my hands through it all night. V, you're up early, Marcus said, walking into the living room. He stopped when he saw my face. Baby, what's wrong? Have you been crying? The concern in his voice made me want to vomit. The same voice that had comforted me through my father's death, through bad days at work, through every disappointment and setback. The same voice that had lied to me for 5 years. I'm fine, I managed, my voice hoarse. Didn't sleep well. Stress from work. He moved toward me, and I instinctively stepped back. His expression flickered. Confusion, maybe suspicion. But he smiled. You work too hard. Why don't you take a personal day? I can call in for you. No, I said quickly. I have meetings, important ones. He studied me for a moment longer, then nodded. Okay. Well, I'm going to shower. You sure you're all right? Positive. I watched him disappear into the master bedroom, and listened to the water start running. Every muscle in my body screamed at me to confront him, to throw my phone in his face and demand answers. But I didn't. Instead, I grabbed my laptop and purse and left the house. I drove aimlessly at first, tears blurring my vision, until I found myself in the parking lot of a Waffle House on Ponce de Leon. The sun was rising over Atlanta, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. People were starting their normal days, unaware that my entire world had imploded. I ordered coffee and sat in a corner booth, my laptop open again. I needed a plan. I needed help. I needed to protect myself. At 8 a.m., I called my office and took a personal day, something I rarely did. Then I called Tasha. "I'm working from home today," she said immediately. "Come over. We need to strategize." Tasha lived in a high-rise in Midtown, a sleek one-bedroom with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. When I arrived, she already had coffee made and her own laptop set up on the dining table. "Show me everything," she said. I walked her through my findings. The property transfers, the bank transfers, the evidence of Marcus's double life. Tasha's expression grew grimmer with each revelation. "This is worse than I thought," she said finally. "V, he's been systematically stealing from you. Those bank transfers? That's marital funds he's been diverting. The property transfers? If you didn't sign them, that's forgery. And the house deed." She pulled up something on her laptop. "Georgia is a common law state. If you didn't consent to the transfer, and you can prove you didn't sign, that transfer is void. What do I do? First, we need to secure evidence of everything. Second, you need to talk to a divorce attorney, and not just any attorney. You need someone who specializes in complex asset division and fraud. Third," she paused, "we need to find out if Lisa knows about you. That possibility hadn't occurred to me. You think she might not know? Look at her social media. She posts about him openly, uses his name, calls him her husband. If she knew he was married to someone else, would she be that public?" I thought about it. Lisa didn't seem like someone who'd willingly be a mistress. Her posts reflected genuine happiness, genuine love. She thought Marcus was hers alone. "We're both victims," I said slowly. The realization didn't make me hate her less, but it added another layer to the betrayal. Maybe, or maybe she's in on it. We need to find out. Tasha grabbed her phone. "I'm calling my friend Jasmine. She's a divorce attorney, one of the best in Atlanta. She handles high net worth cases, complex asset division, the works. She owes me a favor." Within an hour, I had an appointment scheduled for 2 p.m. that afternoon. Tasha insisted on coming with me, taking her own personal time. We spent the morning organizing my evidence into folders: financial documents, property records, screenshots of social media posts. Everything meticulously documented and time-stamped. My marketing background had trained me well for this kind of detailed analysis. At 1:30 p.m., we drove to Jasmine Wright's office in Buckhead. The firm occupied the 20th floor of a gleaming tower, all glass and steel and expensive furniture. Jasmine herself was a striking woman in her late 40s, her locks styled elegantly, wearing a power suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary. "Tasha's told me a bit about your situation," she said after we'd settled in her office. "But I need you to tell me everything from the beginning. Don't leave anything out, no matter how small or embarrassing it might seem." So I told her. Everything. The 12 years of marriage, the discovery on Facebook, the property transfers, the bank fraud. Jasmine listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes on her legal pad. When I finished, she sat back in her chair, fingers steepled. "Ms. Mitchell, what your husband has done goes beyond infidelity. We're looking at fraud, forgery, potentially bigamy depending on whether he legally married this other woman. The property transfers alone are grounds for criminal charges." "I want everything back," I said, my voice hard. "The house, the money, everything he took from me, and I want him to face consequences. We can absolutely pursue that, but I need to be clear with you about something. Cases like this can get ugly. He'll have his own attorney. There will be depositions, court appearances, potentially a trial. Your life will be scrutinized. And she paused. If Lisa Chen Mitchell is also married to him legally, this becomes even more complicated. I don't care, I said. I want justice. Jasmine smiled, a sharp, predatory smile. Then you've come to the right place. Here's what we're going to do. She outlined a strategy that made my head spin. Forensic accountants to trace all the money. Private investigators to document Marcus's movements and confirm the extent of his dual life. Immediate action to freeze our joint accounts and prevent further transfers. Emergency motions to void the property transfers. This will be expensive, she warned. My retainer alone is $25,000, and the full case could run into 6 figures. I thought of the money Marcus had stolen, the life he'd built with my earnings. I'll pay it, whatever it takes. We spent the next 2 hours going through documentation, signing agreements, building the foundation of my case. By the time we left Jasmine's office, night had fallen over Atlanta. The city lights twinkled below us, millions of people going about their lives, unaware of the war I was about to wage. You okay? Tasha asked as we rode the elevator down. No, I admitted. But I will be. My phone buzzed. Marcus, where are you? Getting worried. Please call me. I stared at the message, at his fake concern, and felt nothing but cold determination. He wanted to play games? He wanted to live a double life while stealing from me? I was about to teach him that Vanessa Mitchell wasn't someone you played with. I texted back. Working late. Don't wait up. Then I turned to Tasha. I need to go to Savannah. I need to see this house he bought her. I need to see his other life with my own eyes. When? This weekend. He'll be working anyway, right? I laughed bitterly. Probably spending time with his other wife. I'm coming with you, Tasha said firmly. You're not doing this alone. That Saturday morning, while Marcus packed his bag for his work trip to Savannah, I watched him with new eyes. He kissed my forehead before leaving, told me he loved me, promised to be home Sunday afternoon. Love you too, I said, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. 2 hours after he left, Tasha and I got in her car and headed south on I-16 toward Savannah. The drive took just under 4 hours, Georgia landscape rolling past. Pine forests, small towns, billboards advertising pecan shops and boiled peanuts. We reached Savannah around 2 p.m. The city was beautiful, historic squares, Spanish moss draping from ancient oak trees, charming architecture. Under different circumstances, I might have enjoyed it. Now it felt like enemy territory. I directed Tasha to the address from the property records. The house was in a quiet suburban neighborhood, modest but well-maintained. A white Toyota sedan sat in the driveway. Lisa's car, based on photos from her social media. And next to it, Marcus's Mercedes. My Mercedes. The one I'd helped pay for. There he is, Tasha breathed. That son of a bitch. We parked down the street, far enough to avoid detection, but close enough to watch. Through the front window, I could see movement. Then the door opened, and Marcus stepped out, laughing, carrying a trash bag to the bin at the curb. He looked relaxed, happy. He was wearing casual clothes, jeans and a Georgia Bulldogs t-shirt, looking nothing like the buttoned-up businessman who left our Atlanta house every morning. Lisa appeared in the doorway, and my breath caught. Seeing her in person was different than photos. She was petite, pretty, laughing at something Marcus said. She walked over to him, and he wrapped his arm around her waist, pulled her close, kissed her. I looked away, my chest tight. V, we should go, Tasha said softly. We've seen enough. But I couldn't look away. I watched as they went back inside, watched through the window as they moved around what appeared to be their kitchen, watched as Marcus pulled Lisa into a dance, both of them laughing. This was his real life. Or maybe Atlanta was his real life. Maybe both were equally real to him. Maybe neither was. Let's go, I finally managed. We drove to a coffee shop in downtown Savannah, near the river. Tourists milled around, taking photos, enjoying the beautiful November afternoon. I ordered coffee I didn't drink and stared at the murky water. "I'm going to destroy him," I said quietly. Tasha reached across the table and took my hand. "Yes, we are. But first, let's get back to Atlanta. Let's let Jasmine do her job. Let's build an airtight case." The drive back felt longer, darker. By the time we reached Atlanta, I was exhausted. Emotionally, physically, spiritually drained. Tasha dropped me off at home around 10 p.m. The house was dark. Marcus wouldn't be back until tomorrow. I walked through the rooms, seeing everything differently now. This wasn't my home. This was just a building, full of lies and broken promises. I went to the guest room, my room now, and finally allowed myself to cry. Not gentle tears, but huge, racking sobs that shook my entire body. I cried for the years I'd lost, for the trust that was shattered, for the future I'd imagined that would never exist. But underneath the grief, something else was growing. Something hard and unbreakable. Marcus had underestimated me. He thought I'd never find out, or if I did, that I'd be too broken to fight back. He was about to learn he was very, very wrong. Tomorrow, the real battle would begin. Monday morning, I woke up before my alarm, my body still operating on adrenaline rather than rest. Marcus had come home Sunday afternoon as promised, full of stories about the Savannah project, fictional problems with contractors, made-up delays, invented solutions. I'd smiled and nodded, playing my role perfectly while my mind calculated my next moves. "You seem distracted," he'd said over dinner Sunday night, studying my face across our dining table. "Just work stress," I'd replied, forcing myself to meet his eyes. "Big presentation this week." He'd accepted this easily, as he always did. Marcus was so confident in his deception, so certain I'd never discover the truth, that he'd grown sloppy. Or maybe he'd always been sloppy, and I'd simply been too trusting to notice. Now, Monday morning, I sat in my car in the parking garage at work. But instead of going up to my office, I called Jasmine Wright. "We've made progress," she said without preamble. "My investigator confirmed that Marcus did legally marry Lisa Chen in Nevada 5 years ago, which means he's committed bigamy. Polygamy laws in Georgia make this a felony." My heart hammered. "So we can have him arrested?" "We can, but let's be strategic. Criminal charges are leverage. Sometimes the threat alone is enough to get what we want in the civil case. Plus, if he's in jail, he can't work, which means he can't pay you back." She was right, of course. This wasn't about revenge, or not only about revenge. This was about recovering what was mine. "The forensic accountant has found some interesting things," Jasmine continued. "Those $3,000 monthly transfers? They were just the visible ones. There are others, smaller amounts, irregular timing, that add up to another $200,000 over 5 years. And the construction company he supposedly works for? He resigned 3 years ago." I closed my eyes. "So what has he been doing?" "Consulting work, it looks like. Freelance project management. But here's the thing. His actual income is about $90,000 a year. Combined with your salary of $135,000, your household should have been bringing in $225,000 annually. But your joint account shows deposits of only about $180,000 per year. He's been hiding income." "Exactly. Depositing it directly into accounts we haven't found yet. Accounts likely shared with or solely owned by Lisa Chen. We're working on tracking those down now." I thought about Lisa, going about her life, believing she was in a legitimate marriage. Does she know? About me? We don't think so. Her social media presence, her public behavior, it all suggests she believes she's his only wife. My investigator spoke to one of her co-workers casually, and they confirm that Lisa talks about Marcus openly, mentions their marriage, shows photos. No indication she knows she's sharing him. So she's a victim too, I said, the words bitter in my mouth. Possibly. Or she's an excellent actress. We'll know more soon. In the meantime, I've filed emergency motions with the court. We're requesting immediate freezing of all joint accounts, and we're challenging the property transfers as fraudulent. There's a hearing scheduled for Friday. This Friday? That's 4 days away. Judge Richardson moves fast in fraud cases. But Vanessa, you need to understand. Once we file these motions, Marcus will know. He'll be served papers, probably Wednesday. You need to be prepared for his reaction. I thought about the man I'd shared a bed with for 12 years. Did I know him at all? Was he capable of violence? I didn't think so. But then again, I hadn't thought he was capable of bigamy and fraud either. I'll be prepared, I said. I'm also recommending you change the locks on your house. Well, the house you live in. Technically, it's in Lisa's name right now, but you have resident rights, and I want you to install security cameras. Can you do that today? Yes. Good. One more thing. Have you told anyone other than Tasha about this situation? No, just her. Keep it that way for now. The fewer people who know, the better. We don't want Marcus getting tipped off before he's served. After we hung up, I sat in my car for another 10 minutes, trying to steady my breathing. Then I went upstairs to my office, determined to maintain normalcy for a few more days. Work was a welcome distraction. I threw myself into the Q4 campaign review, led a team meeting, responded to emails. My colleagues saw nothing amiss. I'd spent years perfecting my professional mask. During my lunch break, I drove to Home Depot and bought new locks and a security camera system. The clerk, a young guy with kind eyes, helped me choose smart locks that I could control from my phone and cameras with motion detection and cloud storage. DIY project? He asked cheerfully. Something like that, I replied. I installed everything that afternoon, working quickly while Marcus was supposedly at work. The locks were surprisingly easy, just a matter of removing the old hardware and installing the new. The cameras took longer, but by 5 p.m., I had 4 cameras positioned strategically: front door, back door, garage, and the driveway. I tested the app on my phone. Crystal clear video, real-time notifications, the ability to see who was coming and going. Perfect. Marcus arrived home at 6:30, his usual time. I watched on the camera app as he approached the front door, tried his key, frowned when it didn't work. He tried again, then knocked. I opened the door, feigning surprise. Oh, sorry, I had the locks changed. We've had some break-ins in the neighborhood, and I got worried. He studied me for a moment, and I saw something flicker in his eyes. Suspicion? Concern? But then he smiled. Good thinking. Can I get a new key? Of course. I handed him one of the copies I'd made. I got you 2. One for your keychain, one for your car. Thanks, baby. He kissed my forehead and walked inside, setting down his briefcase. I watched him move through our house, Lisa's house, and felt nothing but cold detachment. The man I'd loved was gone, replaced by this stranger who wore his face. Tuesday passed in similar fashion. Work, normalcy, pretending. I had dinner with Marcus, made small talk about his day, laughed at his jokes. He had no idea that I knew everything, no idea that papers were being prepared, no idea that his carefully constructed double life was about to come crashing down. Wednesday morning, I left for work early, telling Marcus I had a breakfast meeting. Instead, I met Jasmine at a coffee shop near the courthouse. He'll be served today, she said, sliding papers across the table. Probably around 2 p.m. The process server will find him at his current location. We have an address for an office he rents in Midtown. Once he's served, he has 30 days to respond, but the emergency hearing is still set for Friday. What should I expect when he finds out? He'll likely call you immediately. He'll probably deny everything, or try to explain, or maybe even admit it and beg for forgiveness. You need to decide how you want to handle that conversation. I'd thought about little else for days. I don't want to talk to him, not yet. Not until after the hearing. That's fair. You can let his calls go to voicemail. But Vanessa, you should consider where you'll stay for the next few days. Once he's served, things might get intense. I'll stay with Tasha. Good. Pack a bag today. Important documents, valuables, anything you can't replace. And whatever you do, don't let him know where you are. I spent the morning at work in a fog of anxiety and anticipation. At 2:15 p.m., my phone rang. Marcus. I let it go to voicemail. He called again at 2:17, and again at 2:20. By 2:30, I had 15 missed calls. Then the texts started. Vanessa, what the hell is this? Call me right now. I just got served fucking divorce papers. Call me. You can't be serious. We need to talk about this. V, please, let me explain. This is insane. You're making a huge mistake. I watched the messages pile up, each one more desperate than the last. Finally, at 3 p.m., I texted back. My attorney will be in touch. Do not contact me directly. His response was immediate. Your attorney? Vanessa, I'm your husband. We can work this out. Please, just talk to me. I blocked his number. Within minutes, he was calling from a different number. I blocked that too. Then another. I finally turned off my phone entirely. At 4 p.m., I told my boss I needed to leave early. Family emergency. I drove home, packed 2 large suitcases with clothes, toiletries, important documents, and sentimental items. My hands were shaking as I moved through the house, grabbing things that mattered. Photo albums from my childhood, my grandmother's jewelry, my college diplomas. The security camera alerted me as I was finishing. Marcus's car had pulled into the driveway. I watched on my phone as he jumped out, practically ran to the front door. He pounded on it, calling my name. Vanessa, V, I know you're in there. We need to talk about this. Please, baby, just open the door. I stood frozen in the bedroom, watching on the camera app. He looked frantic, his tie loose, his usually perfect appearance disheveled. This is crazy, he shouted. You can't just leave me like this. 12 years, V. 12 years of marriage, and you're going to throw it away without even talking to me? The irony of his words would have been funny if they weren't so painful. He tried his new key in the lock. I'd changed them again that morning, using a different set. He cursed, tried again, then pulled out his phone. My phone buzzed with another call from an unknown number. I didn't answer. On the camera, I watched Marcus pace the front porch, running his hands through his hair, looking increasingly agitated. Then he noticed the camera. He stared directly into it, and even through the screen, I could see the fury in his eyes. Really, Vanessa? Cameras? What? You think I'm going to do something crazy? He laughed bitterly. I'm not the bad guy here. You're the one who won't even talk to her husband. You're the one who went straight to a lawyer instead of communicating like an adult. The gaslighting was almost impressive in its audacity. He stayed on the porch for another 20 minutes, alternating between anger and pleading. Finally, he got back in his car and left. I waited 5 minutes to make sure he was really gone, then quickly loaded my suitcases into my car and drove to Tasha's apartment. She was waiting for me, wine already poured, guest room already prepared. You okay? She asked as I collapsed onto her couch. I don't know. I feel numb. He had the nerve to act like I'm the one who did something wrong. Classic narcissist behavior. Deny, deflect, make himself the victim. Tasha handed me a wine glass. Did he say anything about Lisa? No, not a word. Just kept demanding I talk to him, calling me unreasonable. I took a long drink. Tash, what if I lose? What if the judge sides with him somehow? What if I end up with nothing? That's not going to happen. We have evidence. We have documentation. We have the law on our side. My phone, I'd turned it back on, buzzed with another message from an unknown number. Please, V. I love you. Whatever you think I did, we can fix this. Don't destroy our marriage over a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. He was calling his entire second wife a misunderstanding. I showed Tasha the message. She snorted. Save that. It's evidence that he's trying to manipulate you. Thursday was the longest day of my life. I went to work, but accomplished nothing, just stared at my computer screen, counting down the hours until Friday's hearing. Marcus continued trying to reach me, calls from different numbers, emails, even a message through LinkedIn. Each one was saved, documented, added to my attorney's files. Thursday evening, Jasmine called with an update. Marcus hired an attorney, Richard Brennan. He's known for aggressive tactics in divorce cases. Expect them to come out swinging tomorrow. What kind of tactics? Character assassination, mostly. They'll try to paint you as vindictive, unreasonable, possibly claim you knew about Lisa all along and are only upset now because you want money. They'll try to make you look bad to the judge. But I have evidence. Proof of the fraud, the property transfers, everything. And we'll present all of it. I'm just warning you, it's going to be ugly. Brennan doesn't play nice. That night, I barely slept. I lay in Tasha's guest room, staring at the ceiling, running through possible scenarios. What would Marcus say? What lies would he tell? Would the judge believe me? Friday morning dawned gray and drizzly, Atlanta weather matching my mood. I dressed carefully in a conservative navy suit, pulled my hair back in a sleek bun, applied minimal makeup. Jasmine had coached me. Appear calm, professional, credible. Tasha drove me to the courthouse. We arrived early, going through security and finding the correct courtroom on the 4th floor. Jasmine was already there, surrounded by files and documents, her paralegal beside her organizing evidence. You ready? She asked when she saw me. As ready as I'll ever be. At 9:45, Marcus arrived with his attorney. I'd steeled myself to see him, but the sight still sent a jolt through my system. He was wearing his best suit, the charcoal one I'd bought him for our 10th anniversary. And he looked haggard. Dark circles under his eyes, his usually perfect appearance slightly rumpled. When he saw me, his expression crumpled. He started toward me, but his attorney, a silver-haired white man in his 60s, grabbed his arm and whispered something sharp. Marcus stopped, but his eyes never left my face. I looked away. All rise, the bailiff announced. The Honorable Judge Patricia Richardson presiding. Judge Richardson was a black woman in her late 50s, with intelligent eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She settled behind the bench, reviewed the files before her, then looked up. This is an emergency hearing in the matter of Mitchell v. Mitchell. I've reviewed the initial filings and I have some questions. Ms. Wright, your client is alleging fraud, forgery, and bigamy. Those are serious accusations. Jasmine stood. Yes, Your Honor. And we have extensive evidence to support each claim. Mr. Brennan, your client's response? Marcus's attorney stood. Your Honor, these allegations are grossly exaggerated. My client did have a relationship with Ms. Chen, yes, but calling it bigamy is inflammatory. The marriage to Ms. Chen was never legal. It was a ceremony in Vegas, not a legitimate union. My client was confused about the legal requirements. Confused? Judge Richardson's eyebrows rose. About whether he was committing bigamy. Yes, Your Honor. My client made a mistake, certainly, but not a criminal one. As for the property transfers, Mrs. Mitchell is a signatory on all their accounts. She had full access and knowledge. That's a lie, I said before I could stop myself. Judge Richardson's gaze snapped to me. Mrs. Mitchell, you'll have your chance to speak, but not by interrupting counsel. I apologize, Your Honor, I said, my face heating. Ms. Right, let's see this evidence. The next 2 hours were a blur. Jasmine presented everything methodically. The marriage certificate from Nevada showing Marcus married Lisa Chen on November 15, 2020. The property records showing the transfers to Lisa's name. The bank statements showing the systematic draining of our joint accounts. The timeline proving Marcus had been living a double life for 5 years. Brennan tried to poke holes in everything, arguing that I must have known, that I was complicit, that this was a vindictive attack from a spurned wife. But Jasmine countered each point with evidence. Then Judge Richardson asked the question I'd been dreading. Where is Miss Chen? Has she been notified of these proceedings? She has not, Your Honor, Jasmine said. We're still determining her level of knowledge regarding the situation. I'd like her present for the next hearing. If Mr. Mitchell married her, believing he was legally able to do so, she has a stake in this matter. The judge made a note. Now, regarding the emergency relief requested, freezing of assets and restoration of property titles, Mr. Brennan, do you have evidence that Mrs. Mitchell consented to these transfers? The quitclaim deed bears her signature, Your Honor. Jasmine stood quickly. We have a handwriting expert's preliminary analysis that suggests that signature is forged. We request the court order a full forensic analysis. Judge Richardson studied the deed carefully. The signature does look inconsistent with Mrs. Mitchell's other signatures on file. Mr. Brennan, did your client have Mrs. Mitchell sign this deed? Marcus leaned forward, whispering urgently to his attorney. Brennan's expression tightened. Your Honor, my client. There may have been a misunderstanding about the signing process. A misunderstanding. Judge Richardson's tone was ice. Counselor, I'm getting very tired of that word. Either Mrs. Mitchell signed this deed or she didn't. Which is it? Silence. Marcus looked trapped, his eyes darting between his attorney and the judge. Your Honor, Brennan finally said, I'd like to request a continuance to consult further with my client. Denied. Mr. Mitchell, stand up. Marcus stood, looking pale. Did your wife sign this quitclaim deed, transferring your marital home to Ms. Lisa Chen? Marcus's jaw worked. Then quietly. No, Your Honor. The courtroom seemed to hold its breath. You forged her signature? I signed it myself, both names. But it was for financial planning purposes, Your Honor. Tax reasons. I was going to tell Vanessa. Tax reasons. Judge Richardson's voice could have cut glass. You transferred your marital home, a property worth approximately $750,000 according to these records, to your other wife for tax reasons. She's not my... Marcus stopped himself. Your Honor, I made mistakes. I know that. But I never meant to hurt Vanessa. I love her. I love them both. The words hit me like a physical blow. I love them both. As if that made it better. As if loving us both justified the lies, the theft, the years of deception. Judge Richardson removed her glasses, pinched the bridge of her nose. Mr. Mitchell, I've been on this bench for 20 years, and I've seen a lot of things. But the sheer audacity of what you've done here. She shook her head. Here's what's going to happen. Effective immediately, I'm freezing all joint accounts pending full forensic accounting. I'm ordering the quitclaim deed voided. Mrs. Mitchell is restored as the rightful owner of the marital home. I'm ordering you to vacate said home within 48 hours. Your Honor, Brennan tried to interject. I'm not finished. I'm also ordering a full investigation into potential criminal charges of bigamy, fraud, and forgery. The district attorney's office will be notified of these proceedings. And Mr. Mitchell, if I find out you've hidden any additional assets, attempted to transfer any more property, or contacted Mrs. Mitchell in any way that could be construed as intimidation, I will hold you in contempt. Are we clear? Yes, Your Honor, Marcus said, his voice barely audible. Ms. Wright, I want a complete asset inventory within 2 weeks. I want Ms. Chen served and present at the next hearing. And I want a full forensic accounting of every penny that's moved through any account associated with Mr. Mitchell over the past 5 years. Can you accomplish that? Yes, Your Honor, Jasmine said, unable to hide her smile. Good. We'll reconvene in 30 days. Court adjourned. The gavel came down, and I finally allowed myself to breathe. I'd won the first battle, but the war was far from over. The 30 days between the first hearing and the second felt like both an eternity and an instant. Marcus moved out of the house within the court-ordered 48 hours, taking only his personal belongings. I watched on the security cameras as he loaded boxes into his car, his movements angry and jerky. He never looked at the cameras, never tried to contact me. He went straight to Savannah, the investigator confirmed. Straight to Lisa. Jasmine's team worked with ruthless efficiency. The forensic accountant traced every dollar Marcus had earned and spent over the past 5 years. The findings were staggering. Beyond the obvious transfers to Lisa, Marcus had hidden additional accounts, purchased a boat registered in her name, even set up a 529 college savings plan for future children, all funded with marital assets. The total? Over $400,000 of my money, spent on his other life. But the most shocking discovery came 2 weeks after the first hearing. The investigator called Jasmine, who immediately conference called me. "Vanessa, you need to sit down for this," Jasmine said. I was at Tasha's apartment, and she was right there beside me. I put the phone on speaker. "I'm sitting. What is it?" "We found the car registration. Your Mercedes SUV, the one Marcus has been driving, is also titled in Lisa Chen Mitchell's name. He transferred it 18 months ago." The room spun. "My car? The one I helped pay for?" "Yes. Same pattern as the house. Forged your signature on the title transfer." Tasha grabbed my hand, squeezing hard. "There's more," the investigator said. "We've been surveilling Marcus and Lisa. They're planning to leave the country. We intercepted emails between Marcus and a contact in the Philippines. He's been researching property purchases there, looking into visa requirements. They're planning to run." My blood ran cold. "When?" "Within the next 2 weeks, based on the correspondence. Before the next hearing." "Can we stop them?" I asked. "We're filing an emergency motion today," Jasmine said, "requesting that the court seize Marcus's passport and restrict Lisa's travel. Judge Richardson won't let them flee." She was right. Within 24 hours, federal marshals had confiscated Marcus's passport. Lisa's travel was restricted pending the hearing. They weren't going anywhere. During those 30 days, I also did something I'd been avoiding. I reached out to Lisa. Jasmine had advised against it, but I needed to know. I needed to understand if she was a victim or a co-conspirator. I created a fake Facebook profile, generic name, stock photo, and sent her a message. "You don't know me, but I have information about Marcus Mitchell that you need to hear. Can we meet for coffee?" She responded within an hour. "Who is this? How do you know my husband?" "I'd rather explain in person. Please. It's important. Savannah, anywhere you choose." There was a long pause. Then, "River Street Coffee. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. I'll be wearing a red scarf." I drove to Savannah the next day, my heart pounding the entire 4 hours. Tasha had wanted to come, but I needed to do this alone. Lisa was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table, nervously fidgeting with her coffee cup. She was even prettier in person, delicate features, expressive eyes, wearing business casual clothes suggesting she'd come from work. I approached slowly. "Lisa?" She looked up, studied me. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Someone older, I guess. You look young, and you seem familiar somehow." Her eyes narrowed. "Have we met?" I sat down across from her. "No, but you've seen me. In photos, in Marcus's other house." Her expression clouded with confusion. "Marcus's other house? What are you talking about?" "My name is Vanessa Mitchell," I said quietly. "I'm Marcus's wife." The color drained from her face. "That's not funny." "I'm not joking." I pulled out my phone, showed her our wedding photo. Marcus and me, 12 years ago, young and happy. We got married in 2013. We've been together for 12 years. Lisa's hand started shaking. No, that's impossible. Marcus married me. We have a certificate, we had a wedding. We've been together for 5 years. I know. I've seen your Facebook. I've seen your house, your life with him. I pulled up more photos. Marcus and me on vacations. at family gatherings, celebrating anniversaries. But Lisa, he never divorced me. He's legally married to both of us. She was crying now, tears streaming down her face. You're lying. This is some kind of sick joke. I wish it was. I showed her the court documents, the evidence of bigamy, the property transfers. Everything. Lisa stared at the phone screen, her whole body trembling. Then she ran to the bathroom. I heard her being sick. When she came back 10 minutes later, her face was blotchy, her eyes red. She sat down slowly, like she'd aged a decade. The house, she whispered. He told me he bought it for us, for our future. He bought it with my money. Our money. The car. He gave me the Mercedes for my birthday, said he wanted me to be safe. It was my car. He forged my signature to transfer it. She covered her face with her hands. I'm going to be sick again. Lisa, I need to know. Did you know about me? Any of it? She looked up, and the anguish in her eyes was real. No. God, no. He told me. He said he'd been married before, but that she died. In a car accident. He said that's why he was so protective of me. Why he worried so much. I thought I was helping him heal. My throat tightened. He'd killed me off in his story to her. Erased me completely. Where did you think he was? I asked. When he wasn't with you? Working. He has construction projects all over Georgia. Sometimes he'd be gone for days, but he always called, always texted. He made me feel like I was his priority, like everything he did was for us. She laughed bitterly. I'm such an idiot. You're not an idiot. You're a victim. We both are. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, what happens now? There's a hearing in 2 weeks. The court is dividing assets, determining what's owed. Marcus has been stealing from me for years. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Money he used to build a life with you. I didn't know, she said desperately. Please, you have to believe me. I would never. If I'd known he was married, I would have left immediately. I'm not that person. I studied her face and saw only genuine horror and heartbreak. She wasn't a co-conspirator. She was another woman Marcus had lied to, used, manipulated. I believe you, I said finally. Lisa broke down completely then, sobbing so hard the other cafe patrons stared. I moved to her side of the table, and surprising myself, put my arm around her. We sat there, two women who'd been destroyed by the same man, finding unexpected solidarity in shared pain. I'm going to testify, she said finally, wiping her eyes. At the hearing. I'll tell them everything. That I didn't know, that he lied to me, that I want no part of anything he stole from you. You don't have to do that. Yes, I do. It's the right thing. He stole from you, and he stole from me too. My time, my trust, my belief in love. She met my eyes. I want him to pay for what he did to both of us. 2 weeks later, we all reconvened in Judge Richardson's courtroom. This time, Lisa sat on my side of the room, not Marcus's. The look on his face when he saw us together was worth every moment of pain. Your Honor, Jasmine began, we have new testimony to present. Lisa took the stand, sworn in, and told her story. She spoke about how Marcus had courted her, lied to her, built a relationship on deception. She testified that she'd had no knowledge of me, no knowledge that the house and car were bought with stolen funds, no knowledge that she was participating in bigamy. Did you love him? Jasmine asked. Yes, Lisa whispered. I thought he was my soulmate. I thought we'd grow old together. Now I realize I never knew him at all. Brennan tried to discredit her testimony, suggesting she was colluding with me for financial gain. But Lisa's pain was too raw, too real to be fabricated. Then it was my turn. I testified about the 12 years of marriage, the lies, the discovery of Marcus's double life. I presented evidence of every dollar he'd stolen, every asset he'd fraudulently transferred, every moment of deception. Mrs. Mitchell, Jasmine asked, what do you want from these proceedings? I want everything back, I said clearly. Every dollar he took, every asset he transferred, every penny he spent building a life with someone else while pretending to build one with me. And I want him held accountable, legally, financially, criminally, for what he's done. Marcus took the stand in his own defense. He tried to paint himself as a man torn between two loves, someone who made mistakes but never meant to hurt anyone. I loved them both, he said, his voice breaking. I know that's not an excuse, but it's the truth. I was weak. I was a coward. I should have made a choice, but I couldn't bear to lose either of them. Judge Richardson's expression was stone. Mr. Mitchell, love is not theft. Love is not fraud. Love is not forging signatures and stealing money. What you did wasn't weakness. It was calculated, sustained criminal activity. The final accounting was devastating for Marcus. The forensic accountant testified that Marcus had misappropriated $427,000 in marital funds. The house, worth $750,000, should never have been transferred. The car, worth $55,000, same situation. The boat, the savings accounts, the investments, all bought with money that was partly mine. Furthermore, Your Honor, the accountant said, Mr. Mitchell has been underreporting his income on tax returns filed jointly with Mrs. Mitchell. The IRS has been notified. Marcus's face went gray. Judge Richardson took a 30-minute recess to review all the evidence. When she returned, her expression was grim. I've presided over many divorce cases, she began, but few have displayed this level of deception and fraud. Mr. Mitchell, you didn't just betray your wife's trust. You committed multiple felonies. Bigamy, forgery, tax fraud, theft of marital assets. She laid out her ruling. Marcus was ordered to repay every penny he'd taken, $427,000 plus interest. The house was restored entirely to my name. The car was returned to me. The boat and other assets purchased with marital funds were to be sold, with all proceeds going to me. Additionally, Judge Richardson continued, I'm awarding Mrs. Mitchell $250,000 in punitive damages for emotional distress and attorney's fees. And I'm recommending the district attorney pursue criminal charges. Marcus's attorney stood. Your Honor, my client doesn't have that kind of money. Then he'll need to find it. He has 90 days to pay Mrs. Mitchell in full, or I'll order wage garnishment and seizure of any assets he has. And if he attempts to flee the jurisdiction, I'll have him arrested for contempt. She turned to Lisa. Ms. Chen, I'm granting you an annulment of your marriage to Mr. Mitchell. It was never legal to begin with. I'm also ordering that you not be held liable for any of the debts or judgments against him. You were a victim in this situation, not a perpetrator. Lisa nodded, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, Your Honor. Finally, Mr. Mitchell, I want you to understand something. Judge Richardson leaned forward. You're not a romantic figure torn between two loves. You're a criminal who systematically defrauded two women. You stole money, forged documents, lied under oath. The only reason you're not in custody right now is because I'm giving you 90 days to make this right. But if you fail to pay Mrs. Mitchell every penny you owe her, I will personally ensure you spend the next several years behind bars. Is that clear? Yes, Your Honor, Marcus whispered. The gavel came down. It was over. Outside the courtroom, Lisa and I stood together on the steps. The December air was cold, Atlanta's winter finally settling in. What will you do now? I asked her. Move, she said immediately. Probably back to California, near my sister. Start over. Try to remember who I was before all this. She looked at me. You? Same. Not move, exactly, but rebuild. Figure out who I am when I'm not being lied to. Can I ask you something? Lisa said. Are you okay? Really? I thought about it. Was I okay? My marriage was over. The man I'd loved was revealed to be a monster. I'd spent months in anguish, fighting for justice, exposing my pain in a courtroom. But I'd also discovered I was stronger than I'd known. I'd fought back and won. I'd reclaimed everything he'd taken from me, and more. "I will be," I said finally. "It'll take time, but I'll be okay." She nodded. "Thank you for believing me, for not blaming me. We were both victims. That wasn't our fault." We hugged, an awkward, tentative embrace between two women connected by trauma. Then she walked to her car, and I walked to mine. Tasha was waiting for me in the parking lot, leaning against her car with a huge smile. "You did it," she said. "You actually did it." "We did it," I corrected. We drove back to my house, truly my house now, with no one else's name on the deed. It felt different walking through the door, cleaner somehow. Like Marcus's lies had been exorcised from the walls. Over the next 90 days, Marcus sold everything he owned to pay me back. His consulting business, his equipment, a property he'd inherited from his father. Every penny went toward the judgment. The DA did file criminal charges: bigamy, multiple counts of fraud, tax evasion. Marcus eventually pled guilty to avoid trial and was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison. Lisa moved to Los Angeles and started a new life. We kept in touch occasionally, friendly texts on holidays, check-ins every few months. Not quite friends, but something else. Survivors of the same shipwreck, making sure the other was still swimming. I threw myself into therapy, working through the betrayal, the trust issues, the questions about my own judgment. It was hard work, painful work, but necessary. A year after the final judgment, I was sitting in my living room, redecorated now, every trace of Marcus removed, when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Ms. Mitchell, this is Officer Jenkins with the Atlanta Police Department. I wanted to inform you that Marcus Mitchell was released from federal prison today after serving 18 months. He's been paroled for good behavior." My heart rate spiked. Does he know where I am? His parole conditions include a strict no-contact order. He's not permitted to come within 500 feet of you, your workplace, or your home. If he violates that, he goes straight back to prison. I just wanted you to be aware. Thank you for letting me know. After I hung up, I sat there for a moment, waiting for the fear or anger or anxiety to come. But instead, I felt nothing. Marcus was out of prison. So what? He couldn't touch me anymore. He had no power over me. I'd taken everything back: my home, my money, my dignity, my life. I'd discovered strength I never knew I had. I'd survived the worst betrayal imaginable and come out the other side. 2 years after the divorce was finalized, I was promoted to vice president of marketing at my company. I'd started dating again. Nothing serious, just testing the waters, learning to trust again slowly. One Saturday afternoon, I was at the farmer's market in Piedmont Park when I saw him, Marcus. He looked older, thinner, beaten down by life. He was alone, browsing produce, looking lost. Our eyes met across the crowd. I saw him freeze, saw recognition dawn on his face. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Two people who'd once promised forever, now strangers connected only by scars. He opened his mouth, as if to speak, then seemed to remember the no-contact order. He looked away, shoulders slumping, and walked in the opposite direction. I watched him go and felt something unexpected. Pity. Not for what he'd lost, he deserved to lose it all, but for what he'd never had. The capacity for honesty, for real love, for being a person of integrity. I'd lost 12 years to his lies, but I'd gained something invaluable. The knowledge that I could survive anything. That I was enough, all by myself. That I didn't need someone else to complete me. I was already whole. I turned back to the farmer's stand, selected some fresh peaches, and continued with my day. 3 years after that courtroom victory, I stood in front of a different kind of audience. A room full of women at a domestic abuse and fraud survivors conference in downtown Atlanta. The organizers had asked me to speak about my experience, and after much deliberation, I'd agreed. "My name is Vanessa Mitchell," I began, looking out at the sea of faces. "And I want to tell you about the day I discovered my husband's secret wife on Facebook." I told them everything. The shock, the pain, the investigation, the legal battle. I told them about Lisa, about how we'd both been victims. I told them about the months of fear and uncertainty, wondering if I'd lose everything. "But here's what I want you to know," I said, my voice strong and clear. "You are not powerless. When someone betrays you, steals from you, tries to destroy your life, you have options. You have rights. You have strength you don't even know about yet." I saw women nodding, some crying, some taking notes furiously. "Document everything. Get a good attorney. Don't let shame or embarrassment keep you silent. Don't let anyone convince you that you're overreacting or being vindictive. Protecting yourself isn't revenge. It's survival." After my speech, women lined up to talk to me. They shared their stories. Husbands who'd drained bank accounts, partners who'd forged signatures, abusers who'd stolen identities. Each story was different, but the thread was the same: betrayal, theft, the abuse of trust. "What do I do?" a young woman asked, tears streaming down her face. My husband took out credit cards in my name. I didn't know until debt collectors started calling. "I have $80,000 in debt that I didn't create." I gave her Jasmine Wright's card. "Call her Monday morning, tell her I sent you, and listen to me. This is not your fault, and you can fix this." An older woman, maybe 60, gripped my hand. I was married for 35 years before I found out about his other family. I thought I was too old to start over. But hearing your story, maybe it's not too late. It's never too late, I told her firmly. You deserve truth. You deserve respect. Age doesn't change that. That night, driving home through Atlanta's glittering streets, I thought about the journey from that devastating Facebook discovery to this moment. The path had been brutal, filled with tears, rage, fear, and moments when I'd wanted to give up. But I hadn't given up. I'd fought. I'd won. And now I was using my story to help others do the same. My phone rang. Tasha. "Girl, I saw your speech was today. How'd it go?" "Good. Really good, actually. Empowering." "I'm proud of you, V. You know that, right? You took the worst thing that ever happened to you and turned it into something that helps people. Thanks, Tosh. For everything. For being there from the beginning. That's what sisters do. Hey, you still coming to my Christmas party next week?" "Wouldn't miss it." "Good. And V? I invited someone. A friend from my gym. His name is David. He's a civil engineer, divorced, no secret wives." She laughed. "I'm not saying it's a setup, but I'm not saying that either." I smiled. A year ago, the thought of meeting someone new would have sent me into panic. Now, I was open to possibilities. "I'll be there," I said. The Christmas party was at Tasha's apartment, decorated festively with a tree in the corner and lights strung everywhere. I arrived fashionably late, wearing a red dress that made me feel confident and beautiful. David turned out to be kind, funny, and genuinely interested in my work. We talked for hours about our careers, our families, our favorite restaurants in Atlanta. He didn't ask about my past, didn't pry into painful territory. He just listened. "Can I be honest?" he said at one point, both of us standing on Tasha's balcony, looking out at the Atlanta skyline. "Please. Tasha told me a bit about what you went through. Not details, just that you'd been through something difficult. And I wanted you to know. I respect that. I'm not looking to rush anything or push you into something you're not ready for. I just think you're fascinating, and I'd like to get to know you better. At whatever pace works for you. His honesty was refreshing. No games, no hidden agendas. Just a straightforward man being upfront about his intentions. I'd like that too, I said. We exchanged numbers, and over the next few months, David and I went on casual dates. Coffee shops, museum visits, long walks through Piedmont Park. He was patient, never pressuring, always respectful of my boundaries. One evening, about 4 months into dating, we were having dinner at a restaurant in Virginia Highland when my phone buzzed. An email notification from Marcus. My hands froze on my wine glass. David noticed immediately. You okay? It's from my ex-husband. An email. You don't have to read it if you don't want to. But I did want to. Some part of me needed to know what he'd say after all this time. I opened it. Vanessa, I know I'm not supposed to contact you, but I'm sending this anyway because some things need to be said. I've spent the last 3 years in hell. Prison, losing everything, becoming someone I don't recognize. And through it all, the one thing that haunts me is what I did to you. I can't explain why I did it. Cowardice, maybe. Fear of choosing. Selfishness, definitely. I told myself I loved you both, but real love doesn't destroy. Real love doesn't steal and lie and manipulate. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know. You were right. About everything. You were right to fight back, right to expose me, right to take everything. I deserved it all. I heard you've been speaking at conferences, helping other people. That's more than I could have ever hoped for you. You took the worst thing I did and turned it into something good. That's who you are. Someone who builds instead of destroys. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry for every moment of pain I caused you. You deserved so much better than what I gave you. I hope you're happy. I hope you found someone who treats you the way you should have always been treated. And I hope someday you can think about those 12 years and remember some good moments, even if they were built on lies. Take care of yourself, V. Marcus. I read it twice, then set down my phone. What did he say? David asked gently. That he's sorry, that I was right, that he hopes I'm happy. Are you? Happy? I looked at David, this good man who'd entered my life with patience and honesty. I thought about my career, my home that was truly mine, my new purpose helping other women. I thought about Lisa, who'd sent me a text last week saying she was engaged to someone wonderful. I thought about how far I'd come from that devastating morning when I'd discovered the truth. Yeah, I said, surprised by how much I meant it. I really am. David reached across the table and took my hand. Good. You deserve to be. I didn't respond to Marcus's email. I didn't need to. He'd said his piece, and that was fine. But I didn't owe him anything. Not forgiveness, not acknowledgement, not closure. I'd already found my closure in that courtroom 3 years ago. Instead, I deleted the email and turned back to my dinner, to David, to my present and future, rather than my past. The morning sun streamed through the windows of my home office as I finished the last edits on my book manuscript. Reclaiming Your Life After Financial Fraud, A Survivor's Guide. It had taken me 2 years to write, pouring everything I'd learned into pages that I hoped would help others navigate similar situations. My publisher was excited about it. This is exactly what people need, she'd told me. Practical advice combined with your personal story. It's going to help so many people. Downstairs, I heard the front door open. David, back from his morning run. Hey, beautiful, he called up. Coffee's ready when you are. David and I had gotten married a year ago, a small ceremony at the Atlanta Botanical Garden, surrounded by close friends and family. Tasha had been my maid of honor. giving a speech that made everyone cry and laugh. Lisa had even sent a beautiful flower arrangement with a card, wishing you all the happiness you deserve. Finally found the right one. Our marriage was everything. My first one wasn't. Honest, equal, built on genuine trust and communication. David knew everything about my past and loved me anyway. Not despite my scars, but with full knowledge of them. We'd bought a new house together in Decatur, something that was ours, with no painful memories attached. My Buckhead house had sold for a substantial profit, money I'd invested wisely. The legal settlement from Marcus had been fully paid. He'd actually managed it within the 90 days, selling everything he owned. The criminal restitution continued in small monthly payments. He was working construction again, barely scraping by. His wages garnished to pay back taxes and penalties. I didn't keep track of him anymore, didn't care where he was or what he was doing. He was irrelevant to my life now. My phone rang. Jasmine Wright. Vanessa, just wanted to give you a heads up. I have a new client, and her situation is almost identical to yours. Secret second family, forged documents, stolen assets. I told her about you, and she asked if you might be willing to talk to her. Just survivor to survivor, not officially. Of course, I said immediately. Have her call me anytime. This had become part of my life now, helping other women navigate the legal and emotional aftermath of betrayal. Some called it my calling. I just thought of it as paying forward all the help I'd received. Later that evening, David and I sat on our back porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. His arm was around my shoulders, and I felt completely at peace. Your book's going to change lives, he said quietly. I hope so. I know so. You changed your own life. You took control when everything was falling apart. That's powerful, V. That's inspiration. I thought about the woman I'd been 5 years ago, devastated, broken, unsure if she'd survive the betrayal. And I thought about who I was now, strong, successful, genuinely happy. You know what the crazy thing is? I said. If I could go back and warn myself about Marcus, tell myself not to marry him, I don't know if I would. David looked surprised. Really? Yeah, because going through that hell taught me things I needed to learn. About my own strength. About what I deserve. About how to fight for myself. If I'd never experienced that betrayal, I might never have discovered who I really am. That's a mature perspective. It took a long time to get here. For a while I was just angry. Then sad. Then determined to win. But now, I leaned my head on his shoulder. Now I'm just grateful. Grateful I survived. Grateful I fought back. Grateful I didn't let him destroy me. He never stood a chance of destroying you, David said. You're too strong for that. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Hi, Ms. Mitchell. Jasmine gave me your number. My name is Andrea, and I just found out my husband has been living a double life for 8 years. I'm terrified and don't know what to do. Can we talk? I looked at the message, remembering how terrified I'd been, how lost and broken I'd felt. I texted back, Hi, Andrea. Yes, we can definitely talk. First thing I want you to know, you're going to be okay. You're going to survive this. And you're going to be stronger than you ever imagined. Call me anytime. Her response came immediately. Thank you. You have no idea how much I needed to hear that. But I did know. I knew exactly how much she needed to hear it, because I'd needed to hear it too. I set down my phone and looked out at the Atlanta skyline in the distance, the city where I'd built my life, lost it, and built it again, stronger and better than before. Marcus had tried to destroy me. He'd lied, stolen, betrayed every vow he'd ever made. He'd attempted to erase me from his life while simultaneously draining everything I'd worked for. But he'd failed. I was still here, still standing, still thriving, and every day I helped other women do the same. That was my victory. Not the money I'd recovered, not the house or the car or the legal judgment. My real victory was refusing to stay broken. My real victory was turning my pain into purpose. "You ready for dinner?" David asked, standing and offering his hand. I took it, standing beside him. "Absolutely." As we walked inside our home, our real home, built on honesty and trust, I glanced back at the sunset one more time. The sky was ablaze with color, beautiful and fierce, just like me. I'd discovered my husband's secret wife on Facebook, and when I saw her face, my heart had stopped. But it had started beating again, stronger, fiercer, more determined than ever. And I'd won. Not just in court, but in every way that mattered. I'd reclaimed my life, my power, my future, and I was never giving them up again.